Hey y'all, happy What the Fuck Wednesday. Thank you for tuning into Lead Spoons. Today we are going to continue the theme that has been present in the last couple weeks' videos, which is the enormous wealth inequality that we are facing in the United States. The last couple of videos I talked about the wage equivalent that Musk made between Election Day and February 11th when Bernie Sanders addressed the Senate. I also talked about the magnitude of $1 billion. Like, how much is that really? Please go check out those videos. They're fantastic in my opinion, but I might be biased. I don't know. I'm not fantastic, but the data is fantastic. It's literally mind-blowing, and we need to have our minds blown. The focus for today is, again, wealth inequality, but looking at different wealth brackets, from the poorest to the poor, people who have no wealth at all, they're actually in debt, up to Elon Musk himself, the wealthiest person in America. So I have 3 graphs to show you, and the first one is wealth inequality for all people in America. This is everybody, the poorest person to the richest person. And as you look at this graph, there are a couple of things that really stand out. So it's divided into a bunch of different groups, but if you just focus on the 25%, the 75%, median wealth 50%, 75%, 90%, 99, 99.5, 99.9, and then the Forbes 400. The only other group that you can see on this graph when compared with the Forbes 400 is that top 0.1%, the 99.9%. They are the only ones that show up, and it's the tiniest sliver, because the wealth of these 400 individuals is so huge compared to everybody else. That's why when at the political rally on Saturday, or when in my videos you hear people saying it's not red versus blue, it's working class versus oligarchy, this is what we're talking about. It's not that we are going all McCarthy on people and saying, oh, those 400 people have too much money, we need to take it away and redistribute it. We are looking at that list of 400 people and seeing how many of those individuals are directly involved in government, in a government which directly benefits them and their wealth. And we are all screaming conflict of interest. They don't have our interests at heart. I mean, my God, look at the Walton family on there. How did they get rich? Walmart. How well does Walmart take care of its working class employees? Not well. Do they have a reasonable wage that allows them to actually afford to live? Do they have benefits? So many of them get put on for part-time work, so they can't have benefits, and they're getting paid minimum wage, even though the company's making record billions in profits. And you see this not just Walmart. I mean, I'm picking on them because they're easy. But there's a bunch of companies on that list that all do the same thing. They exploit the working class so that they can have record profits, and so that their CEOs and owners and big investors get to be billionaires while everybody else is struggling just to buy some damn groceries. That's why this is a problem. It's not McCarthyism to say they need to pay their fair share. They need to be progressively taxed instead of regressively taxed. Why are we cutting off income levels for paying into Social Security at a certain point, and then saying that the Social Security system is broken and we can't fund it, or trying to dismantle it, when we have a group of people that's not paying even close to their fair share? They dodge. They find loopholes. They don't pay their taxes. They just don't. That's not for this video. That is a fact. I'll do a video on that eventually. You can also find people like Robert Wright talking about it, and Bernie Sanders talking about it. There are people who are talking about this already. The second graph, if you look at the second graph with me, is when we remove the top 1%, the Forbes 400 and the 99.9 and the 99.5, and we just look at everybody but the top 1%. When we remove that mega conglomeration of wealth at the top, and we just line things up, there's still a pretty significant wealth inequality problem. It's better because now we can at least see the 90% and the 75%, and we can just barely see the median wealth, but we can also see what a cost of a 4-year college degree will do. And I put that in at $100,000, negative $100,000. The estimates online were a little bit more than that. It was about 108 to, I think, 132 or something. I rounded down to 100. And so you see that, you see the median, but we still don't see half of the population on this graph. We do not see the lower half of the population on this graph represented in wealth compared to the upper 50%, the top 1% having this extreme wealth. And that's taking out the top 1%, which is all we could see in the other graph, the one I showed you just before. Finally, we have a third graph, and the third graph is when we take the top 10% away and we just remove them from the equation. What does wealth inequality for the bottom 90% look like? And guess what? Everybody is represented. You're not going to see broke on the graph because broke is literally zero. Zero is not going to show up. But you see the cost of a 4-year degree, and that is less than the median wealth, 50%, but it's still way too expensive. That's also another video for another day. We should not have to pay $100,000 to get a degree that's going to make our society a better, stronger place. But everybody is represented on this graph. Everybody is seen. Your low income, yeah, it's still a tiny sliver, but they're there. Your 25%, same. Median, middle, 75, upper income, and then your 90% are all represented. If our entire wealth inequality in America looked more like this graph, and we did not have money in politics, I am confident that we would have a much happier, healthier society. We would be a lot more like the countries in Europe who have these great happiness scores. Needs are being met. People have paid parental leave, sick leave. People aren't afraid to call out of work when they're horrifically ill because they know that they're not going to miss paying a bill or be late on their rent or potentially lose their housing because they miss a week of work. 60% of us are living paycheck to paycheck. That's a huge number of the population that is struggling immensely every month. And it's not okay when we look at the graph like that first one. The other thing that I want to talk about that I think is really important is why it's so hard for us to be upset about this. I mean, this graph is nothing new. My pastor put this up on a PowerPoint slide probably a year ago at church, and everyone in the moment was like, shock and awe, oh my God, that's awful. I don't think anybody but me and maybe 2 or 3 other people are still screaming about it a year later. Why? Why aren't we upset about this? Why aren't we freaking out that we've got 400 billionaires, a handful of which are actively meddling in government affairs while getting new $5 billion contracts from the Department of Defense, not naming any musky names or anything? Why aren't we pissed? Well, according to a Harris poll, 60% of American adults want to become a billionaire someday. You can't hate what you want to become. And 44% of people believe they have the available tools to become billionaires. Almost half of the population. You go into the grocery store, you go anywhere, doctor's office, whatever. Half of the people sitting in that room with you think they have the tools to become a billionaire. But if we remember how much $1 billion is, $100 an hour, 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, times 5,000 years. $1 billion is a fucking lot of money. And yeah, it doesn't come from having wages or whatever. It's investments and stock market and having a great company that, you know, everyone wants to buy from or something. But 44% of us are not on the path to become billionaires. 60% of us are not going to become a billionaire one day unless we have some weird freaky thing happen with the value of money where a billionaire is simply today's millionaire. It's not going to happen. So instead of holding on to a pipe dream and letting people get away with literal like highway robbery in our government, we need to start holding them accountable, not so that we can become billionaires like them, but so that we can pay our rent and pay our utilities and put food on the table and send our kids to college and go on vacation with our family without going broke. So many of us can't do that at all. Like, who gets to do that anymore? Not a lot of people. That's why these graphs are here for What the Fuck Wednesday. I can spew numbers. I can say 5,000 years to become a billionaire. I can say, I'm allergic to the oligarchy. I can say that, that was fun. I can tell you that Musk made almost $300 million an hour wage equivalent between November and February. I can do all of that, but if I can show you, hopefully this sinks in. And yeah, we're not fucking becoming billionaires, people. We're not. And it's not because I'm a mean, anti-sacrilegious something, non-capitalist bitch. It's because I'm being real. I'm not going to feed you some pipe dream. As a therapist, I would be an asshole if I did that, right? I'm not going to tell you you're on the path to becoming a billionaire, because the majority of us are not. And in the meantime, we're getting shafted. So let's wake up to what's happening, because it's not right. It's not fair. And we must fight back before it's too late. They're already making sweeping changes in government and screwing up a lot of things very rapidly. And yes, people in government are starting to fight back. But I watched a YouTube video the other day, and God, I wish I could remember who it was so I could give credit. This person made the point that this has to be bottom up. At this point, we need a bottom up movement of working class, middle class, marginalized people who are willing to say enough is enough is enough is enough. Because that person in that 90%, they probably feel a bit more like they can become a billionaire. The person in the upper income brackets, they probably are like, oh yeah, I could probably become a billionaire. I think I could do it. So just to put that in perspective though, that 90%, the wealth level to be in that 90% is 1,920,758. It's not even $2 million. They're not on their way to becoming a billionaire any day soon either. So we need to wake up. We need to fight back. We need to say enough is enough. We're done. Over it. No more. And that is today's What the Fuck Wednesday. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe, share. The more we can get the word out, the better. And check out the other What the Fuck Wednesday videos, because more mind-blowing facts. We need to wake up. And that's the goal of these videos. I want you to wake up without being sensationalist, without inciting violence, because that's not going to do it. We need peaceful fighting back. When I say fight back, we need peaceful protest, because it is twice as likely to accomplish our goals as violence. We need to be having peaceful protests. We need to be calling our senators. We need to be joining our local working class oriented political action groups. And let me know in the comments, what's your reaction to this? How does it feel? Are you going to have this shock and awe moment in the pew like my friends at church did, and then just kind of like bury that and, no, I don't want to think about that, that's yucky, and go on with your day? Or can we resonate on this at least a little bit and be like, yeah, we need to do something because we deserve better. No more lies, no more lead spoons. All right, as always, please be kind and productive in the comments. Nobody likes an internet troll, and they really don't accomplish anything anyway. So let's be kind and productive, and yeah, tell me what you think. I really want to know. Let's have some solid discussion around this, and let me know what your ideas are for fighting back. I recently was told by a friend about something called 5 Calls. I'm looking forward to checking into that and signing up for that. Indivisible, who sponsored our protest on Saturday for our area, just learned about them. I'm excited to know they exist. What other tools do you know of? Please share them in the comments so that we can all fight this together. All right, happy What the Fuck Wednesday, and take care.